So I'm going to show you something here, folks, right? Look at these children that I'm interviewing in a school in Clackmannan in Scotland. It's an ex-mining village. Not particularly affluent, area of deprivation, but look at how animated these children are. And have a think. What are they discussing? So there's a bit of confusion here. What happened to the Simon character?
Simon. And what happened to Professor Chinley either? Because he came, right, he was all nice at first, and then all of a sudden his head popped off, and then it turned out to be the guy with the horn.
Don Powell.
Aye.
Aye, because
Where did he, there's a real inspector.
it's a challenging school.
Where is he? Yeah, he's not in that game, it's just Don Paul disguised as him.
So it's, does anybody know what they're talking about? You, right, well, what it is, folks, it's this game here. Look, it's for the Nintendo DS. It's called Professor Layton in the Curious Village. Look at this animation.
Oh, you must be Professor Layton, I presume. It's an honor to make your acquaintance.
Nintendo DS. Small handheld console that has games that has the quality animation like this. When I was 13, this was the domain of Hollywood. It's now available on a handheld device. It caught my eye because it reminded me of an animator, Sylvain Chomet. You think Belleville Rendezvous was a film by him that won an Oscar. But this game, Professor Layton, is a narrative-driven game that's really quite complex. You have to read it. But everywhere you turn, there's mathematics problems to solve. So when I saw this, I knew it was coming up. I just thought, this has to go into schools. We have to look at this. So I have a full case study online about how we use this, folks, on our website, which I can share with Baldev, can be shared with everyone else. But watch. Taking control of learning, being mega-cognitively active. That's the kind of things we're looking for with young people. Because when they're playing games, they exhibit these things. They exhibit an innate awareness and ability to be able to identify needs and to be able to use structures and facilities within the game environment to help them get better. They peer assess and they peer support without adult intervention to help them get better. If that's not learning, I really don't know what is. But look at this here, look. Listen to what this boy says about strategy. Listen to this about mathematics.
It's about a wall, they get a key and then they turn it on the wall and then it sort of blows up, and then you have to solve 75 puzzles to get into the tower.
How many?
75.
75 puzzles. With a difficult.
A wee bit. Some of them weren't. Some of them were easy.
Okay. Are these kind of puzzles that you maybe see in math jobs?
Sometimes. But not usually.
So what was that?
Strategies.
Same strategies.
Same type of strategies, yeah. Because we had up a wee board thing that says like...
Now, because of time, you can see my videos that length, and he talks to me about strategy and what he's learned from the game, and how he's made connections with his textbook, and how the class have helped build their own puzzles and their own problems to solve that are built on a range of strategies that they apply in the game. Now, that came out of that game. That seemed to embed this kind of learning that the teacher was hoping to develop. Now, what is it with playing games? And do we have time for both in schools? You know, and why am I interested? I'll tell you why. On the last day of term in 1996, when I was a class teacher, the kids get to bring in toys, and on the last day of term they get to play. So the usual suspects were brought in, Buckaroo, and games like Kerplunk, you know, you pull the straws, and Mousetrap. I used to love this, playing with the kids. And somebody brought this in, a Super Nintendo, and they said to me, Mr. Robertson, can we put this on, please? And I said, well, what is it? It's a Super Nintendo, we need the television. So we wheeled in the beast. You remember the ITT television? Right? We wheeled the beast in, and we hooked up the Nintendo, and this game appeared on the screen. I wasn't a gamer. I'm not on a busman's holiday here, where I've played games and managed to convince people it's a good idea. This is a serendipitous moment, has kind of impacted on my career path, because what happened was the two boys played this game that involved the manipulation of a range of 2D shapes, different colours, different numbers of sides, forming patterns and sequences, falling faster and faster to the screen. I had no idea what was happening, but these two boys did, and all the problem-solving skills that I was trying to teach them seemed to be happening so quickly, so easily, and so readily with these kids. And the interesting thing is, Can you guess which group these two boys were in for maths in my class? They were in the actual lower ability group. And I had lazily thought that the problem was with them, that they just weren't clever enough. You know, how could it be me? How could it be school? How could it be the textbook? But what it did was the opposite. It made me look at myself and look at the curriculum that I was offering and look at context. And it made me think, why is it these boys are so able in this world but not doing it in class? So from that moment on, I started to bring games into my experience and into the experiences of the children in my class. As it happened, I developed a kind of an academic interest, and I worked at Dundee University for 5 years, and then I got the opportunity to lead games-based learning from a national perspective, working for a Scottish Government agency called Learning and Teaching Scotland. And I got the job on a secondment basis in 2006 in August. I was given an empty room about this size. I was given a huge budget of £10,000 to spend. And I thought, right, okay, I had to come up with a name. So I came up with the name, the Consolarium. I ended up with a whiteboard and every console imaginable hooked up to it. And my room was south-facing with lots of windows, so in the summer it was like a solarium. It's very poor, but it works. Anyway, Consolarium, right, that was what happened. And there it was, folks, there's me with some visitors, and this for me was a masterstroke in terms of building capacity. I didn't want to be the person who went into schools and did the magic and then left and all the expertise left with me. I've seen that too often. So my ethos was to build capacity in schools so that teachers could take this practice on board. It can be a lot of fun as well. Why shouldn't it be? You know, learning should be lovely and fun, exciting and beautiful. It should be. It should be these things. That's a Scottish international rugby player, by the way. That's Gregor Townsend. He used to be a British Lion in rugby. So he did some work with me as well. So this is what we did. And I had a centre that allowed education managers, decision makers, to come to the centre, and I would give my presentation about the theoretical perspective, how I thought it could impact on learning, why I thought it was important culturally for young people to be using tools that were within their domain. And then I'd have a set of games and the resources set out to put in their way and say, have a go at that. And before long, the jackets were off, they were sitting on cushions, they were giggling and laughing, competing against each other. And invariably, they'd come back the next day and say, Derek, can we try this, this and this? We've got some schools that are interested. And that's how I grew it. And so, from my little office in Dundee, over the past number of years, I managed to spread. This isn't just happening in 1 or 2 schools. This is happening across the board in Scotland. We've got local authorities who've invested in games for their own schools. We've got things happening up that I don't even know about, which I think is great. I don't want to become redundant, but I think that's a sign of success if you manage to grow capacity and it grows. So all over Scotland, Orkney, Shetland, down to Dumfries and Galloway, we're all over the place. A lot of empty spaces here, and that's because there's lots of mountains. If you don't know geography. And what do I do? Well, I'm using games that are commercially available, off the shelf, that children would choose to play. I've got a real suspicion of the edutainment games that were prevalent in schools for a number of years. Games that teach them, let's teach you how to put a full stop in. You know, let's teach you the 2 times table. Now, the 2 times table is really important, but if you get some kind of corny, fancy thing, every time you get it right, yay! And then you've got to wait 5 seconds for the next one to come out. Children don't choose to play these games. They'll go home and they'll play the real stuff. The real stuff where there's challenge, there's demand, and there's cultural appeal and cachet. This is where the children are at. And the games that are available in the shops are beyond belief in terms of their capacity to challenge and make demands on learners. They're built for entertainment, but games designers know how to engage, how to challenge, and how to demand. A wee bit of theory from me as well. What happened to me was when I was doing all my reading and I read about Future Labs work, Stephen Heppel, John Kirrymure, Angela McFarland, all these people helped me a great deal when I was kind of developing my theoretical perspective of what I was seeing in classes working, why it was working theoretically. And I read James Paul G's text, What Video Games Can Teach Us About Learning and Literacy, and he talked about semiotic domains. And I always share this with teachers, and they get this. And it's that if you take the domain of the school, and you look at the teacher and the pupil. The teacher is the one that has status. They've got mastery of the content. They've got experience, they've got expertise. They're the ones who are kind of like the dominant person in that domain. Pupils who come in are visitors into that domain to some extent. However, if you go to the games domain and you ask any kid about Minecraft or about Call of Duty or about any of these games, who is it there that has expertise, experience, status, mastery? It's them. So what we think is happening is when we bring resources from their domain into the school domain, so the teacher can use that as a contextual hub, as the kind of starter in order for them to dive into writing activities or to inquiry activities or to maths or to history of art. Because it's situated within a context that is within children's cultural framework, within their domain, we believe our experience is kind of saying to us is that they're willingly coming on board. It works for those kids for whom school's already working, but for those disaffected, less interested kids, we're finding that it's bringing them on board and we're getting work from them that the teacher's seen performance that is maybe what they haven't seen before. And parents too commenting on this. We've got a problem though. Look at this guy. How would you describe him? Tell me, how would you describe him?
Bored.
Bored. Do you know what console he's playing? He's playing a PS3 because it's a 6-axis controller, right? Anorak, whatever the name. Now, I want to show you that because the question is, do you really believe he's playing a PS3? If you played a PS3 game, they're breathtakingly good. They're fantastic. My daughters are 8 and 9 and Jack's their friend who's 11. They come down, you should hear them in my room when they're playing Little Big Planet or they're playing FIFA. It's incredible. So I know what's happened here. There's a director at the side because he's telling him, go on, look fed up, look bored. That's it. You're not enjoying this. There's no TV there. He's looking into space. Because this was part of a government health warning that said, risk and early death, just do nothing. This was from 3 years ago. And games have been kind of a modern day folk devil in the Western world. You know, it's the reason why children are, they'll say it's social isolation, cognitive stagnation, obesity, desensitisation to violence. And I'm not for 1 minute dismissing concerns about games and about the fact that 9-year-olds are playing an 18-rated game such as Call of Duty. I'm not dismissing that for 1 minute. But I think that kind of moral panic needs to be addressed with a bit more balance. But I understand that there could be concerns raised about what we're planning to do because it's games and it's not establishment teaching and learning. Right, I'll jump past that. I think this idea of playful learning is important. We're a playful creature. We learn by play. We advocate it very much in the early years. But the way that we formalise learning as children continue to grow into primary, then into secondary school, and into our adult lives. How many of us as adults can say we really play? I think I do. Right? I think you've got to maintain that playfulness. Makes demands on learners. And if it's situated in a culturally appealing context, it can work a treat. Right, I'm going to show you some examples. Okay? Look at him. How would you describe him? Engaged, curious. He's 4, by the way. Someone's caught his attention, hasn't he? Involved, he's lost it. He's immersed in it. Disbelief suspended. Right, look at him. Look at that, look. Well, what he's got is what's causing such interest, he's got a new pet, but it's not a gerbil. And it's not a guinea pig. Well, that looks a bit like Michael McIntyre. It's this, look. This is the kind of thing that I'm putting into schools. This is called the iPad. It's an augmented reality character that appears on the desk, on the screen. If I put my hand there, it senses it. If I touch my fingers, he'll run towards me, and if I stroke him, he'll react to my touch. Now, imagine that marvellous, magical world in a nursery P1 class. Stroking the iPad. And it turns over and you can feed it its milk. Look at it, look. And yet, we'll put edutainment, full stop, packages into schools and kids go home and do this. Right. How can he help but engage young learners, I'm asking? Well, I'm going to show you some examples of what happens. Oops. Overexcited. Sorry, folks. With this, right, if you draw some pictures and you show it to the camera in the iPad, such as this, right? So I'm doing a bit of a drawing here. Okay? And then you hold it up and you show it to the iPad. He looks at it and then he copies what you've drawn. So in nursery schools, we've had the drawing table in some nursery classes, bombarded with kids who want to draw drawings that have got even more detail so the iPad can draw what they've drawn. Desperate to do it, but you get some templates to draw, and the iPad, then, look what he does, look. He actually makes an aeroplane out of this. And then you control this aeroplane as it flies around the room, bursting balloons, and so the emergent numeracy comes out in the teacher, the kids all together shouting 1, 2, 3, can you get above 10? Yeah, let's see if we can get 10 balloons. Look, off he goes. He's off. Been in a couple of nursery classes where I've seen this one in action, and it's really quite a beautiful thing to see. Lost in it. Now, also, look at this. Just want to show you some of the experiences that young people are having with games. Look at this, look. He's going to get a shower. So you see that they're all rubbing and lathering up the soap. And look at them, look. See the soap on the iPad? So you lather them up. And then you pick this up and you shower them. So you rinse it off. And look at this bit here, look. This is cool. Get a hair dryer. And if you don't, he gets fleas. I'll come back to this idea of the nurturing curriculum. From the early students, this idea of nurturing, looking after something. So health and well-being, lesson here. And then, look at this at the end, look. So after all the fun and hijinks, it's time to put him to bed. So you stroke him softly. And he likes that, and then he rolls over, and you tickle his belly, and he goes to sleep, and then all the kids can go and do something else. Well, the iPad has a snooze. Look at that. This is the world our young children are inhabiting from the earliest ages. Also, this is maybe the one that's got most publicity. In 2006, before I started the consularium, I managed to convince my wife that buying a Nintendo DS was a research effort. So I managed to get it from Amazon, and it came with a game called Dr. Kawashima's Brain Training. And it was actually, I think it's been one of the best sellers ever, but it was just built by the Nintendo team to see what the device could do. Anyway, I started Dr. Kawashima's Brain Training. It put me through a test, and it gave me a brain age. And at the time I was 38, my age. It told me my brain age was 43, and I thought, what? I'm not having that. So I went back in, and I played it, because the best your brain could be was 20. But there was lots of games that were unopened that had question marks, and I was desperate to find out what these games were, because it hooked me. And so I started playing Dr. Kawashima every day, until I got my brain age down to 20 eventually. Okay? And so, as I played it though, I thought, if this is making a 38-year-old man want to get better at his maths and his spelling and his punctuation, what would the maths in particular, what would that do to children about age 9, 10, but primary 6 in Scotland, who are going through what was level D at the time, mathematics, the mathematics level, addition and subtraction within 100, multiplication and division up to the 11 times table. And I thought, we all have the same impact. And so we put this in an intervention at school. I'll tell you exactly what we did. But look at this guy here. This guy's 10, and look how quickly he can do 20 songs.
I'm here with Dylan from Fraserburgh, South Park, and apparently he's red hot at times 20. When you go.
It's a random selection every time, so it can't be memorised. And it's
13. That's the fastest I've seen any school child do that. Is that your best time? No? 9?
He just told me 9 seconds his fastest time. You maybe heard me say 9. And the reason I said, then prove it. So he says, okay, so he went to his profile and he showed 9 seconds. So 20 sums that he can do in 9 seconds. Now the reason I asked is that because I've led this in Scotland, I go to schools and I'm pretty good at the games. I always think I'm the dad of the games. But I can't get below 10 seconds on that game. For the life of me, I can't get below 10. It must be an age thing. So that was me. I was the most put out that this urchin, this whippersnapper, is better than me. Now, one other video, folks. Let me just say this here.
Well, because it's made me smarter and
I'll just ask these. This is the first intervention we did. Our research was published, and I'll tell you in a second, in the British Journal of Educational Technology. And these were some of the guys who were involved with us the first time. I just asked them, how has the game helped you?
I could do a lot more. I could do my work faster now when I'm like doing sums.
You think so? Do you really feel that? Okay. What do you think?
Well, I've got 2 things. I think it's made me better at doing my sums and quicker, and I thought it was a good idea to bring the Nintendos.
You did think it was a good idea? Why do you think it was a good idea?
Because, well, people weren't that good at the sums, right, and it's helped everyone. From last time when we got the test, we weren't that good at, and this time we've got like 7 minutes and 5 minutes and stuff.
What do you think's done that? Do you think the game's helped?
Yeah.
Why? How has it helped?
Because we're smarter.
Well, I remember a video on that, and that little boy from Private 5 said, because we are smarter. And what also happened was it seemed to build this collegiate ethos within this class. And this was in a peripheral housing estate in a socially deprived area in Scotland, where you're now getting children working together really well to help each other support their own development of mental maths, and to acknowledge the fact that we are smarter. Not we are. I love showing that video. The methodology that we adopted, folks, just quickly, we had a randomised control trial. So it wasn't people who were fanboys. You know, when we did this in 4 local authorities across Scotland, it was teachers who were randomly selected, irrespective of their ability to use technologies or their dispositions towards it. What we found with this was that this is all, by the way, this is in the British Journal of Educational Technology, so I can share that reference with Baldev. There was 2 papers. The second one was an extended study, so I'll share that with Baldev so that you can get a look at that. So that was the methodology. Measures used included a measure that we used to look at maths ability level, expected maths ability level at that age and stage. We also used the Marsh SDQI self-concept tool, although it didn't really show any significant impact on that, which is a big question itself. Why not? And then just a couple of things to show you, folks. We looked at maths accuracy, and the group who were using the Nintendo group, there was statistically significant improvements in their the number they got correct, basically. There were some children who were in learning support in some school. One girl, we remember, scored 25 out of 100 in this measure that we used the first time. And then 9 weeks later, she scored 68 out of 100. The difference in her attitude to maths was incredible. But that was that one. But the one that was really impressive, and I think this is because of the way games encourage people to improve and to get better and to get faster, that was the speed of calculation. So you can see the average went from almost 19 minutes with the Nintendo group down to just 13 and a half. So some kids who were, got to understand, folks, where we did this was in areas of social deprivation. You know, we didn't do it in leafy suburbia. We did it where there's real challenges for the teacher in terms of behaviour, challenges for the kids in terms of the home environment, and maybe a lack of support and no education ethic. And what I was trying to say is these children are talented, they're able, they're clever. We need to present contexts that allow us to bring that out. And I think games can help do that. Now, in the playgrounds in these schools, it became a cool aspiration to be good at mental maths, which I thought was a great success. Now, suspending disbelief, folks, Guitar Hero. I put Guitar Hero into school back in 2007. The first school we put it in was up in Aberdeenshire. We wrote a case study about how to use it. I saw Guitar Hero and I immediately thought that's going to work an absolute treat, because you see some of the ways in which it's being used. This was from a colleague of mine's. He helped support a project, the East Lothian, that won an international award. But this is based on what we did in Aberdeen. Guitar Hero is like you become a rock star, and you've got this guitar that's got buttons on it, and when you watch the screen, when the colours fall from the screen, you've got to hit the appropriate colour button and stroke it at the right time in order to get points. But it takes you on a narrative of being a rock star. So we used that to situate the children in a Guitar Hero context that addressed all different aspects of learning. And it's really caught on, not just in Scotland, but in very many places. But in Scotland, the school you're going to on Monday, for the Indian college, the delegation, this is a couple of examples of the videos they made last year. These kids were 11. And so the challenge that they've got with Band in a Box, that you will see start on Monday, is that they've got to write a song for their band that they all make. They've got to write the lyrics, they've got to build it in GarageBand, and then they've got to make a promotional video, using all the kind of technical skills, not just the technical skills, but the aesthetic understanding that they've developed as well about media. So let's have a look at a couple. Remember, they've done this all themselves. A stop motion animation.
We're gonna rock and roll, we're gonna party on our own.
Green screen in the
We
background.
don't need no one else, we're gonna party by ourselves. We know it sounds strange, but we're never gonna change. We are Calcor and we're gonna give you more. We know it sounds strange, but we're never gonna change. We are Calcor and we're gonna rock some more.
We're singing our song and we're telling our story. With the coffin down under and we're feeling the golden. Eating the food and drinking the soda. Getting wet as we're diving in the water, staying up on.
So we'll get this one here, right? And now we'll get this. There's 10 groups. They all wrote their own songs, the lyrics, the loops, the media, the video, the whole lot. And when you go into that school, the place is bursting with industry.
Immortal love will never end. On and on.
They've gone for the black and white look. Right, so they made a conscious effort to have that aesthetic. They've brought their own costumes. Look at this bit here. Bit of time lapse to go with that kind of change with no drum, no bass, just acoustic guitar. So that's what we'll see. We'll see that starting on Monday in Garthenburn Primary School for the Indian delegation. Now then, this idea of intrinsic motivation to learn. Look at these characters. Primary 1, Nintendo DS again, using a game called Nintendogs. All working together, completely focused. I've just had another piece accepted for publication, a joint piece with Professor David Miller in Dundee Uni about Nintendogs in school in P1. So that's great news. I'll tell you about that. Nintendogs. Well, what is it? Well, look at this. Here's the puppy. Do you remember Tamagotchi? Remember the Tamagotchis? Well, this is like a Tamagotchi on steroids, if you can imagine that. The puppy there, you stroke the stylus. So it's like the iPad in a way. But you've got to look after this puppy. You name it, you train it, you look after it, you nurture it, you take it to competitions, and you win lots of money. So we put this into schools, one Nintendo DS between a group of 3. So they had to work together to look after this dog. To take it to the park, to make sure it was washed, and then when you see the complex nature of the menus, look what children can cope with. Look, I think we underestimate what they can do. And when they engage with resources like this, I think it shows us just what they are capable of. So we did lots of writing activities based on this. One school developed a business. They started a dog walking club. They had the dog warden in that taught them about safety around dogs. They looked at Harry McClary from Donaldson's Dairy, which is a book we use in Scotland. Who says kids don't like books? They love books. They absolutely love books. So the books about dogs that came out of this game were really eaten up by the kids. There's one little urchin there who apparently didn't like reading. Caught him in the reading corner. They looked at paintings by some contemporary artists, and they tried to replicate their own version of Mad Dog by Seitaro Kuroda. So there's Alistair's effort. And so from the early stages, we're getting children to look at art and evaluate it and try to use the media that's been used by an artist to do their own paintings. So look at Khaled. Look, he's obviously need a bit of help, but there we go. He needs a bit of help. He's He's where he is at the moment. Okay. Another one I want to show you folks is a game called Land of Me, which is a wonderful kind of immersive world, and we put this into 3 different local authorities in Scotland. It's not particularly expensive, you want to maybe check that one out, but it's a world, it's based in 6 chapters, aimed at the early years, and this school on Islay, the island of Islay, where you got all the whiskies if you know Scotland, they did this with me, and then they wrote to the man who made it, made the Land of Me. And the teacher told him he was the king of the Land of Me, and he invited him to come. So because I was going to do the case study, he came with me, and this is them welcoming the king of the Land of Me. Look at this. They're being animals. That's what the noises are. They're being animals.
Oh!
Excellent. Nice to see you.
Come this weekend.
Come this way, King. Got a red carpet, look. Red carpet, tight fit on the, if you remember tight fit from the 80s. They've got the classroom turned in completely into the world of the Land of Me. So the 6 chapters environment, there's bramblewood at the top, they've got the ice flows, they've got the desert. So it's been transformed into the Land of Me. So when the kids are doing the Land of Me project, they're lost in it when they go to the classroom. And example, lots of parental involvement in the things that I've been doing, and parents commenting really favourably on the impact on their child as a learner, and less on what you're doing with games in the class. They love what's happening to their children. So this is a joint rating activity that the mums and dads have come in to support. Quickly again, Mario Kart, which we've got in schools in Scotland. This is a hugely popular worldwide smash for the Nintendo. We've got this in early primary and we've got this in secondary schools. I was in Dumbarton Academy the other day helping them with their Mario Kart project. Quick look at this, look at these characters.
I'm here at Bargaran Primary School with some Primary 2 children.
Not crowds because
who
if
have
you
been
win,
using
the game
Mario
here
Kart
crowd.
in their classroom. Is that correct, kids?
Yes.
Yes. Tell me, who likes to play Mario Kart?
Yes, I do.
You do. Why?
Because when you win, you always get a different character.
A different character?
Yes.
Who's your favourite character in the game?
Mario Kart.
And
Mario.
is Mario your favourite character?
Yes.
Who else? Anybody else got a favourite character? Who's yours?
Now folks, this case study, there's 5 blog posts all about what happened in the school, talking about the range of approaches and how it was used, and also interviewing parents about their perception of what's happened here. So that you can see. It's easy. Right, here's one secondary school. Here's maybe an interesting one that you might want to consider. There's ways in which we can use games is what I call a contextual hub that seems to, again, situate learners within a context that allows the teacher to take them places. And this is one that we did, which I think has got great mileage in secondary schools in particular. It's this idea of using freely available resources from places like iTunes. Because if you go to iTunes and you go to Kids and Family, you can find all the old-time radio serials from the 1930s and 40s that families would used to listen to before television. And so they would sit on the radio and they would get these murder mysteries, or they'd get the detective series, or they'd get a noir mystery. And so there's loads of them. There's old-time radio thrillers, there's even more, there's the mysteries, there's the westerns. Some good stuff here, folks. A lot of lazy racism in some of these things, particularly with the ones about the westerns. And the way they talked about the indigenous folks in America, you know, this kind of nonsense. And even the way that, and some of the ones that are referring to the Japanese people about the 1940 thing, 1941. So it's kind of, this idea of how they're used as propaganda could be used also in terms of a historical perspective. But what I did was, I've got an interest in this stuff. I listen to this stuff at my own time. And this is my favourite. This guy's called The Shadow. Let me show you The Shadow.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows.
It's really naff. It's really naff. But The Shadow has been to India. And he's been to the Far East, and he's met mystics. This was 1930s, remember? And he's learned how to cloak invisibility, so when he's in the room, the criminals can't see him. So his criminality is arch nemesis. So what I was thinking was, why can't we use free resources like this, and resources such as this for Nintendo DS? There's more and more narrative-driven games coming out, games like Hotel Dusk, that have real complex characters, complex narrative structures, that require the player to play and to read. So my idea was to use Hotel Dusk, use the broadcasts from iTunes, in order to get the kids to write their own noir stories. And when you think about what we've got today in terms of worldwide syndication, and we talk to children about writing for an audience, what better audience is there than the world? So if we could get children to write their own audio broadcasts, be it in a noir style, or be it in any style at all, I don't know with Indian culture what the state was with the dramatisation in radio in the 30s and 40s. You know, you can easily refer that back to your own cultural setting and get the children to write for audio broadcasting. Can you imagine them writing a 6-part serial? So they've written the first 3, they get their website set up, record the audio, bring in the sound effects, bring in the music, dramatise it, publish it, broadcast it. People then download that to their iPods, to their music players, to their phones. Second week, the next one comes up. Imagine the kind of feeling of writing for a purpose, writing for an audience. I think that idea has got tremendous, tremendous potential. And here's a quick sniff of one of the ones that the kids did. So listen to the way they kind of grabbed onto this noir vibe. This was them.
I am Pierre Roger, a low-life investigator trying to make a living of it. The scene of the crime will start, and a certain smell hung in the air. Fish. Forgot I was outside the chippy. What happened here then, Chief?
A man has been found dead.
Okay, right folks. That idea again, showing how games can be used to situate learning and to explore. We talked about this yesterday, how we can address other aspects of curriculum development, other aspects of technological development. There's other things, folks, like contemporary references to technologies and games in modern day literature. I don't know if people have read Blind Faith by Ben Elton. Talks about it's a future world not too far from this one, where every moment of your everyday life is shared on a social network. Everything. Okay, so contemporary issues there, possibly be able to use in secondary schools, discussing the impact of social networks on society. How is it impacting on culture? What the children think? How is it impacting on the way they live their lives? Also, Margaret Atwood, Oryx and Crake. I don't know if anyone's read much of Margaret Atwood's text, but in Oryx and Crake, the major theme through this book is about games and how games mirror the plot theme about extinction events. So on our website, lots of materials that schools can use that discuss games and their cultural significance and their cultural impact. Here we are there, there's a couple of examples from our website. So I just took screenshots from our site. Also, using games to deconstruct messages they might be giving. Look at things like Call of Duty. I mean, kids from 8, 9, 10-year-old are playing these games. Battlefield, you know, Black Ops. They're so realistic. And there's something really interesting here about the news. When I see news about what's happening in Afghanistan and Iran, and then we see my neighbour's kids playing these games, the realism is incredible. And you can even set yourself within an Afghanistan city now, within some of these games. And I wonder, is there ways appropriate for us to be looking at these games to think, does this play a part in the kind of construction of how we accept or how we see our worldview? Similarly, games like Stardog, aimed at 9 to 13-year-old girls. Your avatar is a tall model, leggy blonde or a brunette, and she's beautiful, and she goes to the mall, and she spends the money that you've earned playing games on designer clothes and designer handbags. I've got 2 wee girls, and I look at that and I think, wait a minute, is that what I want you to think that's what's expected of you? Because I don't. And I think that these are things that we could be using in schools to help children make sense of society and how it places them. And so to be a bit more critical in their thoughts about what is it saying to me as a person, as a player, as a learner, as a human. But the big thing for me, folks, and I'll come to an end soon, the jump from playing games And using games context to address lots of different curricular areas is a fantastic, it's a great opportunity. But for me, what I want for Scottish children, and I think for everybody really, is this idea of creating a culture of creation and not just consumption of digital tools. And at the Consularium I had a team of people, they've now gone back to school, who led the games design aspect for me. Because to get children to build games from the earliest stages and to control the computer and to have this ethos and this mindset that I can create as opposed to just consume as something we need to be doing. So we had a games competition in 2010. Not just come up with an idea, we did that in 2009. In 2010, build a game. So this was the winning game for the individual secondary people. Now this guy's 14, and this is the splash screen for his game. This is the video that plays before it starts. Look at this. You'd think this was, you could buy this.
Hello, my name is Ryan Walker, and this is my story. In December 2004, I received a call from a man on behalf of the mythical Greek criminal organisation. He offered me employment as one of their agents, didn't take long to make up my mind. I joined. About a week later, a parcel arrived in the post. Inside was some money, a plane ticket to America, and an electrical earpiece. I wish I'd known what I was signing up for.
Here we are. T. Grebe & Co. Dickensian name. Now, 30 seconds. I think that lad showed how his understanding of how to create a piece of media that capture attention. I'll jump past this one. In the Scottish curriculum now, in the Curriculum for Excellence, it's explicitly stated from level 2 onwards that children will make games. So that's in primary school. So it's an expectation that you will build games. It's interesting though, because from level 2 to level 3, the word, everything's the same except the word entertaining's been taken out, which I don't quite understand. But also at level 4, okay? And we've got kids in, let's say, primary 5.
Okay, Alan, here's your game. Would you want to tell us a bit about your game?
These primary 5 kids were given a brief by the teacher from the P1 class. They were doing clothes, and so the kids have made a Dress the Teddy game in an application called 2DIY. So this is the kind of culture that we're trying to grow, where children can, as I say, meet a brief, build a game, deliver it, extend their skill set. We're using games such as Coding, which is freely available from Microsoft, so this might be an option for colleagues if you want to consider how we can possibly bring the game design aspect into things. But Scratch is freely available, it's wonderful what it can do. Let me show you this. Look, there's a teacher I'm working with, and I think we'll need to get him in as one of the teachers who's going to work with the group. And his class, every one of them is building games in Scratch. The quality and the standard you would not believe. There's a poem by a famous Scottish poet called Robert Burns, and the poem's called Tam O'Shanter. And very famous poem. And so they learned this in class, and then their task was to build a game that was like to Tam O'Shanter. Now let's have a look at what he's done here. And if you understand a bit about Scratch, you'll recognise how impressive this is.
Hi Jamie. I want to show people the game that you've been working on. It's kind of inspired by a particular computer game, Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
Yeah? But you've put a kind of a Scottish twist on this by making... What? Now, I'm looking at your scripts here on the left hand side of the screen. Looks really quite complex. How much of a challenge has this been for you to build?
Hard. Very hard.
Hard. Very hard.
The maths that is in this
It's taking you quite a bit of time.
as opposed to what you'd have learned from the textbook.
And help.
It's just 19
How did you
days.
get help?
You know, he's been looking at 4 quadrants for a
From
start.
the teacher? From Mr.
He's
Buss?
been looking at
So how much of this do you think has been your own work?
randomisation, so that the colours don't fall at the same time all the time. They're
How much
randomised.
is this?
So he's learned all about this and he's built it into his game. He's 11. This isn't a one-off.
Can you show me the game working?
So you've got easy, medium, or hard.
Three difficulty levels.
So you put in different levels.
Yeah, and then you
And
get.
is that linked back to this script here?
No.
Can we see the game in action?
You see it working. So he's got the devil and he's got the witch that come out of the poem. So you've got the keyboard, press them. If you don't get it right, the devil appears. If you get it right, the witch dances. So like you've done, and you've also got your points going up. And if you miss it, you've only got a certain amount of life.
And the Tamil Shanta influenced one as well.
So you put the back lights. So they're falling randomly. Okay? And then you get this kind of thing.
Right, here with John, Lucy and Bethany. Hi. Hi. Mr. Bars was telling me that one of you asked, can you build a clock from scratch? Who was that?
Me and Beth, we were making something really
student-led inquiry. Motivated, intrinsically motivated.
Bethany had a look at
extending their skill set, challenging themselves. We can build this. Can you make a clock from scratch? Yeah. How do you do it?
Let's have a look.
So off they go and they built their own clock. So they worked out the code to make the hand move, the second hand, the middle hand, the other hand.
For the blue hand. But
And they thought that was too easy. So they made a digital
when
clock.
green flag is clicked, wait for 1 second, turn 6.
Okay. Looks easy.
Okay, Alan.
I showed you that one. I would have shown you the Xbox, folks, because we can hook up the Xbox Kinect controller now to a PC, and it's amazing what this can do because your body's the controller now, and so you can actually build games where your movement actually is in the game. So we've got some people looking at that in some of our classes already. So that's worthwhile looking at. Now, just to finish, folks, all this is really important, but I think it's important that you create something that allows pupils to reflect on their process, their learning, their development, their part in a kind of a collegiate group. So at schools like Manning, we've got the children having their own blogs where they're writing about their own personal learning development and taking control of it in terms of identifying the experiences and outcomes from our curriculum. And they're actively demonstrating how they're meeting those. So it's not the teacher that's doing it to them, it's the children who are actively demonstrating this. And you can see this kind of stuff here. They're uploading examples of their work and they're tagging it so that when it comes to the end of term and they've got to write a profile, they can just pull together the best of their work. Up it comes. And so instead of getting a report home, like as a parent, and you read that, you get a hyperlink to their work that then links to this, and this. Again, kids there talking about target posts, talking about stuff that they did on holiday, identifying particular aspects of technical things they wanted to learn to do in their blog. All that's there. So they're tagging it down the side there, as you can see. So this culture of becoming metacognitively active, being the chief agent in my learning journey, is what we're trying to help nurture with this. Okay, and almost lastly, folks, we're looking at changing our platform at the minute, so there's GLOW's evolving into something hopefully even better. And our education minister used YouTube to announce that decision, which was something really kind of important. I've got a community online on our national internet called CPD Consularium, and through that, because I'm back not just to be my own, I don't have a team anymore, I use this to kind of keep the momentum going and keep the community going, so teachers can loan equipment from me, but they've got to then become part of the community and write about their experiences on my shared wiki. So there's ways in which we can develop community, and I've learned a lot of lessons about how to try and make this work. Twitter, I mean, I'm on it. My name's on, if you're on it and you want to follow me, at Derek Robertson. I find it a particularly useful tool to connect with people and to learn from people and to share links and to learn from links. Because really, you could put anybody's flag on that face. Because I think we've all got a shared aspiration for our own children and for our own communities and for our own countries. This isn't particularly for Scotland, but I think we've got to have ambition for our children in our schools. We've got to help make them become skilled, connected, bring out the undoubted creative abilities that they have within themselves. And we've all got to be competitive, haven't we? We've all got to. But we've got to make school a place where children want to be, that resonates with them, and it helps them become as best as they can. Folks, listen, I've talked for quite a while. Thanks for your attention, and I hope that was of use. Thank you.